Hey there, and welcome to the Nerd News Podcast. My name's Rosie, and I'm your host for today. So, the Nerd News Podcast, what this is going to be a podcast where we talk about some current nerdy shows that everyone likes. So, this week we're talking about Wheel of Time. Eventually, we'll do like Wednesday, Demon Slayer, House of the Dragon, those kinds of shows. Yeah, we're going to do it all. Maybe eventually I'll add more people. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So Wheel of Time is in the middle of its third season right now, and I'm loving it. So if you're not familiar with this show, these are based on books by Robert Jordan. It's a good show. I wouldn't say it's on the level of like The Rings of Power or House of the Dragon, but it can scratch your fantasy itch. It's good enough that you should watch it if you like fantasy. Yeah, so and I'm really liking this season. This is definitely my favorite season of the show so far. I'm loving all the symbolism in it. I'm loving the storylines for each character. It's getting good. I really like what's going on here. Yeah, so among the first things I want to talk about here is these visions that Rand has been having. Yeah, that's been something I'm really enjoying in this season. There's the story of his people, not his people that didn't raise him, but are of his bloodline, the Aiel. He had visions about their history that I really enjoyed. So we're gonna go through those in a second. But first, I want to be sure to say that this is a non-book spoiler show. Of course, it assumes you're watching the show, but we're assuming that you have not read the book. Excuse me. So yeah, no spoilers from the books. Don't be a bad person. Just if you've read the books, don't spoil things for us, man. I'm just gonna delete any comments that do that. So yeah, just don't bother. Right. So Rand's visions. So midway through the season, we arrive at the city called Ruidian, and it's a testing ground for the Aiel. Yeah, so what you do is you kind of enter the city, and there are these columns. Yeah, these like glass white columns, and you go through this column forest, and as you go through, you see visions further into the past as you keep going in. So that made Rand's visions a little confusing because they happen in reverse chronological order. So I'm going to go through and sort of tell you the important aspects of what took place, so that you've got it in order and you sort of understand it in the right order. Because I had to go back in and watch, so I'll just take care of it for you here. So many years before the events of the show, the ancient Aiel worked for the Aes Sedai, and this was an age of technological advancement. What's interesting about Wheel of Time is it sort of works backwards in terms of technology. So way in the past, they had this very advanced civilization, but now they're reduced to like a fantasy setting because of their main antagonist, the Dark One, presumably. So we're going to learn about that as we go through. So yeah, the Aiel used to work for the Aes Sedai back in that age, and following some sort of disaster, like we see this big dome, this sphere that's presumably some kind of research facility. It falls out of the sky, and that's presumably caused by their experiments with some oddity they found pertaining to the One Power, which is their source of magic in that universe. Yeah, so there's this disaster. We witness it. Then a certain amount of years later, like we see that things are declining. This disaster is assumably, according to my understanding, this is what leads to things starting to go backwards in terms of their civilization, and they start degrading back into like a fantasy setting. So what we see after this disaster, hundreds of years later, I assume is a lot later, the Aes Sedai tasked the remaining Aiel with preserving these trees. They're called Chora trees. Yeah, I guess the trees are going to be important somehow, and and they also have to swear this oath to follow this thing called the Way of the Leaf, which is it's pacifism, is what it is. It's complete no violence, even if it's done to you, which I'm confused by. Like, I don't see what the logic there is. How are they supposed to preserve the trees if they can't actually protect them? Guess maybe it's a deception tactic. Like, why would the pacifists have something so important? Yeah, I don't really understand. Maybe I'll get to it eventually. So they do this by becoming a migratory people. We see them depart. Maybe that's no, that's not Ruidian. I guess that's some ancient city. like all in these carts, and they sort of become these migratory people pulling these carriages. Yep, and over time, their reliance on this way of the leaf, this pacifism, causes most of the Aiel to die out. And that, yeah, so I saw that coming. As the Aes Sedai did, or had no choice or something. I don't know. Yeah, so this keeps happening until there's just one last Chora tree in the possession of, I think, Naran's ancestors. I think the idea is he's seeing his ancestors as he goes into the past. Yeah, so eventually one of these ancestors, a man named Lewin, so yeah, he's guarding the last Chora tree, and some of his tribe mates, his Aiel tribe mates, two girls, I think one of them is his sister. So these two girls get kidnapped by bandits. Yeah, so they can't do violence. So, but their chieftain says, it is what it is. We can't do anything. But they're like, how can we not do something? We at least need to try and sneak in and free them while the bandits are asleep. So Lewin and his young friends try to do just that. They sneak into the bandit camp to try and free the girls, but the bandit wakes up, of course, and yeah, and they end up killing the bandit, thus breaking the way of the leaf. So when they get back to the rest of the Aiel, they have to report that one of the friends died in the battle. Yes, so yeah, that's possibly why part of why the Aes Sedai made them swear to this pacifist way of the leaf is because they knew that people are going to fight them, like if they go picking fights. So the best way to avoid that is not to fight. Maybe it's some twisted logic like that. I don't know, but yeah. So they report back one of their friends died, and they killed the bandits, and they're banished because they broke the way of the leaf. Yeah, so that was a very emotional moment. Yeah, it was yeah, it just felt wrong to me, but yeah, it is what it is. So Lewin and the other friends, what they decide to do since they're banished is to protect the Aiel, the ones that are still living by the way of the leaf, because this it makes sense. They're like, they can't protect themselves. We still love them. They're our family, and now we can protect them. So we kind of end up with these two different groups of Aiel. One those that break the way of the leaf, then they protect the ones that stick to it. And it's a system that seems to lead to these two different groups of Aiel. Excuse me. Yeah, so eventually the pacifist Aiel build the city of Ruidian, and they plant the last Chora tree there. But eventually they die out. I don't really remember how, but but it happens. And and the ones that are able to do violence, the ones that broke the way of the leaf, they're what remains of the Aiel. And over time, all the memories of these events are fading from memory because I guess they're kind of primal. Maybe they're just not writing stuff down. That's probably it. So, but the Aes Sedai apparently are keeping track. Actually, since they're magic users, they live a really long time. So eventually, the very same Aes Sedai woman that gave them this task and swore them to this oath calls them to Ruidian, and this is for a few reasons. For one thing, seems like to tell them of Rand's coming, to tell them of the Dragon Reborn's coming, who they call the Karakan. I think that's the Aiel word for it. And and she wants to show them their history. I guess it's going to lead to a purpose. Maybe, yeah, I'm not seeing that. Like, yeah, there's a reason they need to know their history. Maybe it has to do with Rand, and they need to remember these oaths that their ancestors made to the Aes Sedai to understand why the Aes Sedai now call them Oathbreakers. Yeah, so that's where she erects those glass columns, and Ruidian becomes that testing ground. Yeah, so yeah, then Rand's biological father finds his mother's body at Dragon Mounds. That's the scene we see in season one where his adopted father finds him by helping the mother through childbirth. I guess she dies after from childbirth because it's ancient times. Right. So yeah, those are the key events. And I love that story. Like it I love when a show like this executes a really good culture, a good people. There's something that I just find entertaining about that when you can fake a history and and do it with such style, like adding entertainment to it, like it builds to something. There is a chosen one, like everything matters. That's something we can do with fiction where we can force it to matter. Yeah, so I love getting stories like that. And yeah, and it helps us see everything in perspective, like why the Aiel are now Oathbreakers, what needs to happen. Like, I guess they need to be forgiven by the Aes Sedai. That's going to lead to Rand's last battle with the Dark One, because he's going to need the magic users and this Aiel army, right? He needs to get everyone he can. So yeah, I guess all this is going to kind of tie into that, and Rand's going to somehow reunite them. So that'll be cool to see. So now let's go through some individual character storylines that I'm taking an interest in. So first, let's talk about Rand's girlfriend, Egwene. So since the beginning of the show, since before season one, he and Egwene had been seemingly in a relationship. And it's worked out thus far with the show. Like now they have this call to destiny, but they managed to keep it together. They love each other, so it works out in the end. But now that we're seeing that being tested, like this all this pressure with Rand, and now he's a man that can channel. Men that can channel are chaotic. That channeling it inherently makes men mad, which is why only women can do it in this universe. Yeah, so well, only women can do it without the madness. Yeah, excuse me. So we're seeing how all this stuff with Rand being this chosen one is taking a toll on their relationship. And what's really testing that now, like what I assume we're going to see in the next episode, is Egwene has found out that Rand has another lover. Yeah, so and it's Lanfear. It's one of the Dark One's underlings or past underlings. She doesn't seem to be fully with him now. She has her own agenda now, and her own agenda seems to involve Rand somehow. Like either she actually does love him or she's using him to work some kind of, work something out for herself. Yeah, so because Rand was could channel, he sort of separated himself from the rest of the group after season 1 because he was concerned about harming them. He knows this will cause him to go mad, so he sort of runs from his destiny. So that's where he meets Lanfear, or where Lanfear finds him, and they start up their own friends with benefits kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, so that happens, and then season 2, Moiraine finds Rand, and he effectively finds out that Lanfear is one of the Dark One's disciples. So yeah, he can't trust her. He's got to run. So then he ends up back with Egwene. It's like no time has passed, but she doesn't know that Rand had this other sort of relationship with Lanfear, and now that seems to be resuming, either because Rand just needs to make sure that Lanfear trusts him because he needs to use her too, like they're trying to use each other, or because they both actually are attracted to each other. So so Egwene, through Aiel powers, like she just walked through people's dreams. That's something she's learning to do, and she saw Lanfear kissing Rand in a dream. Yeah, that's damn. Yeah, I was like, whoa, that's to be interesting to follow up on in the next episode. Yeah, wonder what direction they're gonna go with it. Is Rand gonna just be honest, say, look, I'm playing her? How's that gonna get handled? And apparently, Lanfear has also been influencing Egwene's dreams. Like she's been having trouble sleeping, and that's why Lanfear has been poking around in her dreams. So yeah, I'm wondering what Lanfear's agenda is and how it involves the relationship between Rand and Egwene. Yeah, yeah, I'm not really sure I have a solid prediction there. Yeah, she doesn't seem to be working for the Dark One, but I'm not sure what exactly her plan is. Yeah, so I guess we'll see there. Now let's talk about Moiraine. So she's not my favorite character. She just seems she's rash to me. Like all this stuff about Rand's destiny and her, like the her part seems forced to me. Like she interjects herself when she doesn't need to. Like, and I think that's how Rand feels as well. But yeah, I mean, she is an Aes Sedai, so that introduces something to it. Like she has magic powers. There's that. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, not my favorite character. So she takes the trials with Rand in Ruidian, though hers are different. They're, I guess because her path is different, and she doesn't necessarily need to be Aiel. She just needs to be tested somehow. So she goes through these rings, yeah, floats in these rings and has visions of possible futures. And she discovers that I either she or Rand dies in every possible future. There is no future in which they both survive, and Rand has to live because he's the dragon reborn. So she has to die. That's what she concludes. So I'm wondering if maybe she's not seeing the whole picture. Like I could see her actually dying, but it seems too predictable to me. So wonder if she's not seeing the whole picture. Like maybe in some of these deaths, it's just a near death scenario or some sort of illusion. Another thing I want to point out is that in a lot of the ones where she dies, Lanfear slits her throat. This character I just talked about with Egwene, who's messing with her dreams and all that. So she definitely has some ability to manipulate appearances, particularly through dreams, visions, that sorts of thing. So yeah, so I'm wondering if maybe Lanfear is somehow influencing these visions and tricking Moiraine into thinking that she has to die. And maybe that's part of her agenda is getting rid of Moiraine so that she becomes Rand's go-to magic lady. Yeah, that would be my guess. Yeah, at least for now, that's what I'm thinking. So now I want to talk about these Black Ajah. So Black Ajah are this defect group of the Aes Sedai, these rebels that served the Dark One for whatever reason. I guess promise of power is probably the main reason. Yeah, so they're headed by a lady with a really neat jawline. I love looking at this actress. She's got a nice look to her that's interesting to look at. Like, was it Tina Fey who said like to be like really well known in Hollywood, you just need to have an interesting look about you, like a face people want to look at. This lady's got a really neat look to her. Yeah, she played. Her name's Kate Fleetwood. She plays Leandrin Guerrero, and yeah, she's the head of these Black Ajah. Yeah, so yeah, and they're working against the Aes Sedai and against Rand. And one of the protagonist groups, one of Rand's friends, his various friends throughout his travels, are on their way to this pirate town to try and stop what they're doing. Yeah, so they recently executed this attack on the Aes Sedai's White Tower, their headquarters. Yeah, it killed many Aes Sedai and stole some artifacts. Now, this key one that they seem to be most interested in is this gauntlet and collar set. So we saw something like this in season 2 with a different sect of magic users in a place called Falm. I believe that's the name of the city, where what it takes two magic users and one wears the gauntlet, the other wears the collar, and the collared one kind of becomes a slave. Like it's considered a dark evil way of doing magic, but like you use the one wearing the collar to amplify the one with the gauntlet. Yeah, so they stole what I think is a gauntlet to what looks like is part of one of those sets, but something older. And we see a scene of them researching it, trying to figure out what it is. And the conclusion, or like what seems to be a guess based on like what I saw, is they think it's meant to control male channelers. Yeah, so they're planning to find the missing collar that completes the set, which they think is in this pirate town. That's why they went there to begin with. They believe the collar for that goes with the gauntlet is there somewhere, and they want to use this to collar Rand and control him. Yeah, so dark right there. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, so yeah, Rand's friends are on their way to try and stop them at the behest of the Aes Sedai's leader. So I wanted to make sure to talk about this because I have a prediction here. I'm wondering if they're not seeing the whole picture about what this artifact does. I mean, the whole premise of what they're doing, they're researching it, they're trying to learn about it, so they don't know what it does. I bet it's going to be that it has an unpredicted consequence for them. Right. And so what's that unpredicted consequence going to be? Well, I'm wondering if this is going to be the solution to male channelers going mad. I wonder if this technology was perhaps developed by the Aes Sedai during the period we saw in Rand's visions with the very advanced technological stuff, the futuristic technological advancement age that is, yeah, that apparently was shattered by the Dark One. I wonder if those Aes Sedai back then invented this gauntlet collar set, and the idea is it contains the madness of male channelers. Yeah, so they're gonna succeed in plopping this collar on Rand, but then it heals him. Yeah, so that yeah, like it makes it so we can channel without a consequence, and that's gonna go bad for these Black Ajah. Right? And another thing that would be fitting with this is who wears the gauntlet. The characters that make sense are for one thing, Moiraine. She's an Aes Sedai, she's a magic user, and her whole thing throughout the whole show has been ways that she guides Rand. So yeah, I'm not sure that the gauntlet will have the same controlling effects that it had from what we saw in season two, because it seems to be a different artifact. But yeah, someone's got to wear the gauntlet, so I assume that could be Moraine. Like she guides or controls Rand like she always has. But something I think would be more fitting is if Egwene wears the gauntlet, because in season two, her storyline is that she gets captured by those evil magic users, and she's forced to wear a collar. She becomes a slave to another magic user. Yeah, it's this very well acted. Let me make sure I know this actress's name, because I was very impressed with her performance in season two. Let's see, it's plays Egwene. Madeline Madden. I presume that's pronounced Madeline. It's just spelled in a way that I'm not used to. All right, so yeah, I was very impressed with her performance season two. She acted this process of breaking. You have to torture the collared person to the point that they agree to serve. So she acted that so well, like leading up to it, and also as the broken version of her. It was brilliant. I thought that was a great performance. Yeah, so something that I think would be very poetic is if there's a role reversal here. Now she's the one wearing the gauntlet, and her boyfriend Rand is collared. Yeah, that could be a very interesting role reversal, and it could play into how Rand has been seeing Lanfear on the side. Like there could be some trust issues there that could play into her control over him. Yeah, so that could be something to watch here. I'm thinking I'm onto something with something here. It's probably not all coming together on one vision, but yeah, I think I'm onto something with at least one of these predictions. Right. And well, why did this technology disappear? Well, the Aes Sedai, they they seem to kill male channelers because of the madness. Like they either cage or just kill off men that can channel, and that seems to be what they were doing throughout some of the visions. Yeah, so I'm wondering if maybe the Aes Sedai invented this tech back in the age of extreme technology and used it to control male channelers like the evil magic users did, and maybe they sealed it away to hide their dark secret that they used it too. Yeah, it could be something neat to see. Yeah, so well, this has been fun. Yeah, those are my thoughts so far on Wheel of Time season three, and yeah, I'm liking it so far. I'm excited to see the next episode. I'm excited to see how this episode, the first episode of my podcast, does. Yeah, you're welcome to check it out on. Yeah, it's going to go out on a bunch of platforms. I know I'm going to do YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Yeah, I'm gonna get it to where I can. I'm to see how it does. Make adjustments as I go, and yeah, we'll see what's up. Yeah, if I could get some more people, that'd be dope. It's a lot of pressure, like you probably see Like how I'm stuttering. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure to be on one of these things alone. You want to fill all the space. You're one person. You got to keep thinking of ideas. All right, so yeah, that's a wrap for this week. Yeah, if anyone's there, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Bye bye.